I'm gonna take you to my job at Subway and I'm gonna show you what it looks like to work a regular night shift. I only do night shifts and I mostly do the prepping and the organization and less customer service. So we're not gonna serve a lot of customers today. I told you in my last video that I became a supervisor, and my position I do most of the prepping and I do the cash, the tilt, everything that is really pretty much in the background. So I think you can tell, but I'm really happy about this job. I told you in my last video Subway was my dream job in Australia, and today I will try to film as much as I can. I will definitely try to show you a little bit of just my routine and you will see how great Subway is. I hope you enjoy. See you at my work. So every day starts the same. I start my shift at 2:30. I check the front fridge first. So here I'm just checking what's missing in the back fridge after taking all the things out. So this is everything we're missing in the fridge. So we're gonna prep everything now. So the rule here is start with the things that require the least steps and work your way up from least to most messy. Here I'm just printing all the things we need, and I divide it into two sections: the ones that require a small stainless steel tray and then the ones that require a bigger one. And then I start by cleaning up the counter. The morning shift always leaves such a mess, so I have to clean up after them, which sometimes takes me like 20 minutes before I can even start. And then I grab these trays, label them, and fill them up with some daily paper. And like I said, we start with the least messy food items, which in this case are eggs, veggie patties, salami, pepperoni. It's really simple, and I think Subway has done a great job at simplifying everything for us. Once the trays are filled up, I cover them with some cling wrap and then put a lid on top. And then we have ham, which is still easy to do, but it just takes an extra step as I have to cut it up and then fold it. So this is something I do after the things that I simply just have to take out of the package. It's still simple. I mean, nothing is hard at Subway. But yeah, this was also really nice and really satisfying. You see it in the box. And if you know me from my previous videos, you know that I don't eat meat. And if you're wondering if it bothers me to prep all of the meat, the answer is no, I don't really mind, but I just don't consume it. And then we're on to the tuna and seafood, and as you can see, it gets a little messier. You have to mix in the tuna and the seafood with some mayo. And yes, it's a lot of mayo. And yes, you have to mix it in with your hand, otherwise it's really hard to break them apart, especially the seafood. And I personally don't consume it, even though I eat seafood, but in this case I pass. We don't have a lot of people ordering it, but there's a couple of people, so we only do like smaller portions of it. And then for the next thing, which is the steak, I get these little trays. We use them for steak, for the southern chicken, the chicken strips, and the chicken teriyaki, and it's pretty much just filling them up and then stacking them on top of each other. And then it gets messier with the chicken teriyaki, which is pretty much just chicken mixed in with teriyaki sauce. It is the most popular item on the menu, and this is why we have to prep a lot more of it. And what's hard is just filming everything, making sure I still prep everything hygienically, even though I'm, touching my phone, but in between I change my gloves, or I wash my hands, or I sanitize them. And this is what it looks like in the end. You have all the sticky sauce everywhere, and then you fill up the trays. And then I had another food break. Sometimes I eat up to 3 times a day at Subway. I know it's not the healthiest thing, but I get to save so much money. I got a 6-inch Italian herbs and cheese with some Old English and some vegetables. The Italian herbs and cheese is the most popular bread, and this is the bread we prep the most. And then I try to switch up the sauce every now and then to taste all of them. This time I had spicy mayo, and it became my second favorite right after the harissa sauce, which is not as popular, but I can really recommend the harissa sauce. It's spicy, it kind of burns your mouth and also your butt, but it's worth it. It's really nice. Hey guys, do you want to see my new hair? I feel like I look like some type of animal, but I don't know what kind. Like, I can't put my finger on it. Before I go to work, I will take this off. I think this looks not professional. I tried filming a little bit yesterday, and then I saw that I wasn't smiling on any of my videos. I looked so serious, and to be honest, I think I am. When I'm at work, I'm kind of let this bubbly personality go, and I'm really locked in and focused. I don't really talk a lot at work. I really just try to focus on what I'm doing. I'll try to look a bit nicer. Like I'll try to look a bit more approachable. But when I talk to customers, I'm pretty nice. And I'm like, hey, what can I get you? What kind of bread would you like? I need to buy some groceries. I just don't have the time because my work hours are just so inconvenient. Like I start work at 2:30. I usually arrive at 2 and then I finish at 9:30. So there is not a lot of time to do groceries. And I really need groceries. I had to skip breakfast just now because I don't have enough food. But don't worry, I eat plenty at Subway. Like I'm such a fatty once I arrive there and I'm just eating and eating. But I feel like I can't eat that much anymore at Subway. Like I'm getting kind of tired of it and I need some change. I started developing my own recipes because I got tired of having the same food every time. So I have like my own recipes and I actually want to show you them. I want to make a panini and I'll show you how to make it. It's so good. They should have it on their menu. To be honest, I wasn't the one developing this recipe. I saw my coworker eating something like that. I'm like, oh, what is that? I want to make something like that. It's like pretty much a wrap, but like really flat. I'll show you later. We'll make some food together. Okay, we're on to day 2 of filming and this is pretty much the second half of what I'm doing in a day, which is when I do the vegetables. Again, I check the front fridge to see what we're missing, and that day we needed some pickles and some olives. Again, same concept, you just take it out of the package. It's simple, but it can be a lot sometimes with all the veggies and meats that we have. And yeah, same thing again. We're now on to actually prepping, which means I get to cut the cucumbers and I make sure to wash them before because sometimes they can get really dirty, and then put them through the thing called slinger. And it's the most satisfying thing ever. Like I don't like the cutting part too much. Actually, I don't mind with the cucumbers, but once it gets through it, it's just so nice, so quick and simple. And then I fill up the tubs. I try not to fill them up too much. Like you can see there's still a bit of a gap. But if it's too tight, they get squished too much. And then what ends up happening is they lose their juice and dry up too much. And then here you can see all the dirt that got washed away and didn't end up in your sub. And then I also washed the tubs in between. And of course also the capsicum, because they're standing in the boxes for a while sometimes and they collect some dust. The capsicum, to be honest, is the thing I enjoy the least because it takes a bit more effort. And it's really not, it doesn't have this satisfying factor too much. You pretty much just cut off the top and the bottom and then half it. And then it's kind of tricky with the slinger. If it's not in it in a good angle, it will get stuck and it doesn't come out nicely. Like all the capsicum pieces are still stuck together. So it doesn't, like I said, it takes a bit of effort and it doesn't really have the satisfaction factor, if it makes sense. So I don't like doing them. And I'm always happy when this is over. Again, I didn't fill it up to the top, especially because I want the veggies to be as fresh as possible. If we fill it up too much, we might end up not using all of it and then it stands in the fridge for another day. And yeah, here we have the onions. They're annoying to peel, but once they go through the slinger, it's the most satisfying feeling again, so it's all worth it in the end. And they add up quickly, so you don't have to cut up a lot, especially when they're big. And then the last vegetable we have to prep are the tomatoes. And I hated it at first, but then I realized it's actually really easy. You just do the same motion over and over again. There's no peeling involved, obviously. And I usually do like 2 to 3 of these trays. What can happen though is sometimes they get stuck in this cutting thingy. When that happens, they kind of explode and the juice gets all over the wall. And it's really hard to clean it up, especially the seeds. They kind of get stuck on the wall. So that happened a couple of times. And we still have some dry tomato seeds stuck on the wall. But overall, it's pretty easy again. And after the tomatoes, I just have the cheese. left to prep. This is pretty much the last food item. And again, I just fill up these trays with deli paper, and that day I needed one of each, one mozzarella, one Old English, and one cheddar. It depends on how much we have in the fridge. We always have to have 4 of the Old English, 3 of the mozzarella, and 2 of the cheddar. And once I hit the cheese, I'm like, oh, finally all the prepping is done. All I have to do after is defrost, which is not really prepping. I mean, I don't know. The cheddar is the only cheese that I have to cut up myself. That's why it always looks ugly. The cheddar is always such a mess. And this is me just taking a break, eating some cookies. I really, really love the cookies. And I try not to eat them too much, but I always end up eating one. I made a little panini. The key point here is to make it really flat. And in order to do that, you can't use a lot of filling. Otherwise, it's pretty much a wrap, but I tried to flatten it, but I might have overfilled it still. But you will see it still worked in the end. It looked really nice. Not perfect, but it was delicious. And I had it for the next few days every time until I got a bit sick of it. And then we're on to defrosting all the meats. And again, I just check in the defrosting section what's missing, write it all down, print the labels, and then put them on the package. So they go from the freezer to the box, then on the counter where they're labeled, back into the box, and then in the defroster. And yes, we also defrost the avocado. We don't make it ourselves. It comes pre-packed. Yeah, there's nothing that we really make. And then I start by defrosting the bread. And at the moment, I have to defrost almost twice the amount of bread that I usually have to defrost because the other store has a broken oven. They're kind of dependent on us now with the bread. And then around 6:30, I start by writing down some numbers of how much we have left in the fridge. And then I also made myself a little snack. This is a garlic cheese toasty, but I added some marinara. So this made it really taste like a pizza. Normally, there's only the garlic aioli sauce and no marinara. And then also the garlic powder. This is one of the few garlicky items that we have. We don't have a lot of garlic items, and this is so underrated. I mean, it tastes amazing. I think they should add this one to their menu. So usually after the prepping and defrosting part, there's not too much to do in my position. So I help out the juniors a bit more during that time. I have a little break, and then I also do the cash box before I do the tilt at the end. The cash box is really simple again. You just count the cash that is inside the box. Sorry for that serious face. I was just really concentrated, especially because the Australian money is still kind of foreign to me. So I need full concentration to count, especially because some of the coins look kind of similar. And if I lose focus, I'll probably mess up the calculation. So I don't know if it was a good idea to put the foreigner in charge of the money. And so far, nothing's happened. In between, of course, we have to take down the trash. We have a lot of empty boxes that we need to get rid of. And then around 8, I start cleaning up, just sweeping and mopping the floors. Had a little snack again. And then when it hits 8:30, I start counting all the bread, all the wraps. Yeah, just a lot of background number stuff. And then when it hits 9 p.m, I do the tilt. A lot of printing, count all the cash in the tilt, sign everything. Sometimes before I'm able to close the tilt, we still get orders in from Uber Eats. And this is a problem because I had days where I waited for them till 30 minutes after we already closed. And I already clocked out before, so I didn't get paid for it. But yeah, at the end, I just lock the door, turn off the lights, and that's it. That's everything I do at Subway.